So looks like we're preparing the live stream webinar. There we go. And the web class here is going to be on the full moon in Scorpio. And this full moon in Scorpio will be, I'll go back and forth between my screen here. Sorry, I'm getting this set up, and the chart of the moment, the chart of the, hey, Heidi is here. The chart of the full moon. I'm moving a couple things around here so I can see. And Heidi is here. I'm going to be on her channel again soon. Right, Heidi? Oops, things are falling all over the place. Anyway, so we're going to do this full moon in Scorpio, and you should be able to see that screen there. And you can see here that this full moon in Scorpio, we can tell it's the full moon because it's opposite the sun. You see the sun is here at about 1348 of Taurus, right? And then we have the moon down here at 11, see the moon is moving, 1228, 1259, 1328. So here at about 14, this is actually May 29th at about 7 a.m. So I said the 28th, that's when I'm broadcasting this, but it's actually happening early in the morning on the 29th, which is good because I'm not late. So this is the full moon opposite the sun. So this is called Purnima, full moon. And you can see that it's Mercury's sun up here in Taurus. So the sun is, I should say, so Mercury is often joined the sun when you have the full moons because Mercury is very close to the sun all the time. So that's not unusual, but again, we have the sun in Taurus. So this cycle revolves around the sign of Taurus. That's where the sun is. Then opposite that is Scorpio, which integrates that lesson of Taurus by bringing this emotional dynamism, this emotional intensity that kind of shakes up and kind of disturbs the apple cart that Taurus wants to be sort of pushing. Taurus is about the stable, the solid, the consistent. And because that's where the sun is, we're having this Taurus cycle now where we're trying to stabilize our life. And then this full moon in Scorpio goes, but wait a minute, kaboom. We might have to blow some things up. That's the nature of Scorpio, and it's emotional turbulence. And again, the emotional turbulence isn't just so we can create a lot of drama, it's so that we can face our fears. And Scorpio is a sign where we are facing our imagined fears and trying to deal with them more skillfully. And in facing those imagined fears with more skill, we wind up, not being so, overcome with, again, imagined fears and stress and worry. So this is an important thing at this time, is to actually deal with this sort of polarity between, sorry, I had to look at something technical here, between the stability of Taurus and being on that sort of path to stabilizing your life, and the intensity of Scorpio so that you're not just stuck. And again, a lot of what keeps us stuck is the fear and the resistance to emotional uncertainty and chaos. The problem with Taurus energy is we can crave stability and structure at the expense of growth and transformation. So the best thing we could say about Scorpio is that it brings in transformation. And again, sometimes that transformation, destroys a lot of things. Oops, sorry about that. And sometimes that destruction and transformation is necessary for the next phase of beauty in our life. If you want to grow flowers, you need to destroy weeds. You need to bust up and break up the surface of the earth. And again, that kind of surface of the earth is very much about Taurus energy. It can be like kind of calcified sort of dogma or calcified kind of life where, for example, even though my relationship stinks, at least that's familiar. At least I'm comfortable, because what happens if I let go of it? Then what? Who knows, right? Just because even though I hate my job, it gives me enough money and enough comfort. So if I let go of my job, then what? I deal with this a lot with students and people who want to do a different kind of work, let's say. Let's say they want to do things like astrology or something that's more, kind of spiritual and dynamic. And I know that if I'm talking to a Taurus person, I'm going to say, but here's one thing you're going to deal with. You have to lower your standard of living for a while in order to make a living as an astrologer or a yoga teacher. And they're used to a certain comfort level and a certain stability. So again, I'm talking a lot about Taurus because this full moon in Scorpio is opposite that. So the intensity and the emotional sort of upheaval that you might be experiencing right now is to try to transform something else in you that's very calcified and stuck. And by the way, that thing that's calcified and stuck is different for each sign. So this is why I do these full moon and new moon forecasts. I'm about to do actually the full moon forecast for my members. If you want to try that out, it's only 50 cents for 14 days. And you can see how this full moon in Scorpio will affect you based on your ascendant, on your rising sign. So for example, for Pisces, this full moon in Scorpio is in the 9th house, which is breaking up the tamas, or the stuck feeling of the 3rd house. So what does that mean? Well, for Capricorn, this full moon in Scorpio is happening in the 11th house, which is opposite the Taurus sun of the 5th house. So the 5th and 11th house is very important. So again, these 30-day cycles are what your whole life revolves around. 30 days from new moon to new moon, and then the halfway point in the cycle is the full moon, which is where we're at now. People that stay up with this and that join my member site and get these updates all the time, plus you also get daily updates. There's a link, Astrology Training Lab, there'll be a link in the video that you can check out, is actually where you can check it out for 2 weeks. And again, it's really something that's extremely valuable to embrace in your life. I'm going to type the link in here because people ask me. Let me just do this real quick. astrologytraininglab.com. Should be spelled right. If you check that out, you can see. So anyway, besides that, these cycles are extremely important. And so you may be feeling, especially the last day or so, whoops, I just hit the wrong key here. Let me go back. Where am I at? So you may have experienced in the last day or so, a lot of this emotional intensity and passion, and, in fact, like imagined fear and even sort of paranoia. These things are associated with Scorpio. Again, imagined fear, even potential paranoia. It's the fear of being stuck, the fear of not moving, the fear of like, okay, what am I doing? I'm wasting my time. I'm wasting my life. I'm stuck. Taurus energy. This is actually what Scorpio fears the most. Though it's boring, we're in a rut, blah, blah, blah. These signs are opposition this way. So the nakshatra that it's happening in is Anuradha nakshatra. Now, Anuradha means following Radha or after Radha. Radha was the great devotee of Lord Krishna, his most ardent devotee. And Krishna was said to have had like 1 million wives, right? Wives, like lovers. Now, it wasn't physical lovers, they were emotional lovers that had all this passion for him. When you study Hinduism, what you would call Hinduism or Vaishnav tradition of worshiping Krishna and Lord Vishnu, it's the path of love and devotion and bhakti. Bhakti, devotion, not passionate love where I want to get something. If I give you this, you give me this. I want sex and stimulation and attention. All that's fine. But if it just stays that way, that's just rajasic. It's just desire. It depletes our energy and wastes our life, basically. We waste our life in that. Literally, we waste our life in the Venus kind of stuff. That's the emotional quality of Venus, where the things that give us pleasure and happiness deplete our energy and waste our energy. But the culmination of that, the elevation of that is called bhakti, and that's devotion. And the devotion is very alive in Scorpio. Scorpio is perhaps the most devotional sign. Scorpio, Cancer, Pisces, the water signs. Scorpio, because it's so passionate, has the potential for the most devotion. Also the most, kind of diabolical emotions as well, but devotion especially. That's why Scorpio has to focus on purity of heart, purity of feeling, not what do I get, but what can I give? And Radha, who was Lord Krishna's most ardent devotee, was not in it for herself. All the gopis around her wanted Lord Krishna's attention and imagined he was their, that Lord Krishna was their husband and all this romance and this fantasy, not Radha. Radha was the divine friend, because the god of Anuradha is Mitra, which is the god of divine friendliness, divine friendship. The best friends in the world are Scorpio. Scorpio is the best friend in the world. They can be tough on when they're lovers and closer intimates. They're still wonderfully devoted, incredibly loyal, with enormous conviction and devotion and passion, but especially to their friends, Scorpio will stick with you to the end. With their lovers too. They're the most loyal, passionate people. Once it gets in their heart, it doesn't leave, because that's the nature of Scorpio, that fixed water. But the problem with Scorpio is we're also afraid of something that's in our heart. What if it gets taken away? Then what am I going to do? So it's this fear of losing something in our heart that can make Scorpio energy really go a little crazy. So again, this is a lot of what's happening. And this intensity is to awaken passion, emotional passion, because Taurus is where we can be kind of stuck, emotionally stuck, rigid. So again, of course, you're like, well, when's he going to say it's debilitated? Yes, the moon's debilitated in Scorpio. I'm explaining the reasons why. You don't have to use those words. Doesn't mean the word doesn't have a meaning or a application. But too often, unfortunately, astrologers rely on these judgments. It's a judgment to say that word. It's better to explain it, the passion, the beauty, the power. And the problem is we get too attached to our desires. When it becomes devotional or when it becomes elevated towards something very high, like Radha and her love for Krishna, which was, she didn't want anything in return. That's what devotion is. Bhakti is not what I get, it's what I give. It's not the love and attention that I get. It's what's the love and attention I can give. I can't give enough. That's bhakti. So this is the great promise of this full moon, is bhakti yoga, the yoga of love and devotion and selflessness. And Scorpio has the courage to be selfless and fearless, emotionally fearless. Through navigating our emotional fears, we become emotionally fearless. But in the meantime, we're working through a lot of emotional fears, right? A few other things: Jupiter still retrograde, Saturn's retrograde, and Ketu Mars are very close to each other. So this Ketu Mars is also big because Mars is the ruler of Scorpio and it's very close to Ketu in Capricorn. A lot of energy that feels stuck like it's ready to pop, feels like it's ready to blow, right? Because we've got this Ketu Mars in Capricorn, which is also, it's an earth sign. Again, we have the Sun and Mercury in Taurus. We're in the Taurus cycle, and Mars, Ketu are in Capricorn, another earth sign. So a lot of energy that just feels like it's kind of stuck and kind of not moving as much. So again, this is very much a placement of discipline, of needing to be disciplined. This Mars, Ketu really shows that need to be emotionally disciplined, because they're in Capricorn where Mars is exalted, right? Mars is exalted in Capricorn. And so that the exaltation of Mars makes discipline the most important thing. And being disciplined means that you put into practice what you know is right? Putting into practice what you know is right. You know you should get up early or do your meditations, do your pranayama and your asanas to make yourself physically strong and powerful. When you're not physically strong and powerful, that's when you wind up suffering. And that's when you wind up then taking it out on everyone else. So when we're strong, we're willing to suffer for our principles, because it's hard to do the right thing. The right thing is your principles. I know this is the right thing to do. That's your principles. And it requires that we suffer a little bit. We need to, again, do the right things. When we're not willing to suffer for our principles, we make others suffer for our principles. Instead of us doing the right thing, we criticize everybody else who's not doing the right thing. When we keep our own house in order and we're strong and in integrity ourselves, then we don't have time to mess with other people because we're perfecting ourselves. We're destroying our own imperfections rather than destroying other people's imperfections. That's easy. And that's why Mars energy is difficult, because it's hard to look at ourselves and destroy our own weakness. It's easy to just go, that Mars energy is too much. I'm going to dump it on somebody. You made me mad, so you deserve my wrath. No. That's weakness. You made me mad. I'm not in control of my anger, and I let you define me. That's the problem. The problem is I don't have enough self-control to even withstand your silly words and criticism. If I'm not strong enough to even withstand somebody else's opinion, how much integrity and strength do I actually have? That's the problem. Not that you said this thing and you shouldn't say that, and people shouldn't say that to each other, and now I'm going to take it and tell everybody and make everybody mad at me and argue with everybody about it. That's because that Mars heat and anger has not been elevated and transformed into discipline. Discipline through, like, again, yoga, asanas, pranayama, meditation, all these things. This is important now because this full moon in Scorpio, again, this is the next like 30-day cycle, like emotional cycle, or at least the next 2 weeks as the moon wanes toward the next full moon. This is going to be a very important time. So after this full moon in Scorpio, then the moon is going to join Saturn. You see, after this full moon, then the moon is going to join, let me give it here. Then the moon is going to join, oops, sorry, 1 second. Yeah. Then the moon is going to join Saturn for a couple days. This is on May 31st and June 1st. Then it goes and joins, June 2nd. It joins this Mars K2 moon. So we got some intense days ahead. And I wanted to make this quick update so that you understand what's going on, and to let you know that we have again, that you have options as well as seeing how this can influence you and change your life. If you want to see how this will affect you, you can actually boogie on over right now to my membership group. You can click that link there that I just popped in the chat there. And even if you don't do it now, these horoscopes for the members are always done. Every 2 weeks, I do a new moon and a full moon forecast, and every day I do a written forecast based on the Panchanga, based on where the moon is, the nakshatra, the rashi, the aspects, all that stuff every day. Daily forecast, 14 days, and then new moon and full moon forecast, plus you get a bunch of free classes. Click the link and check it out if you want. Even if you don't, I'm glad that you attended this, and I will be doing more updates. I've kind of, I've had a really, really busy couple weeks. A new round of my certification courses are starting at the end of this week. I've restructured them so that it's easier for people to participate. If you're looking into that, do it, because it's pretty much done. I just spent the weekend at UAC, which is the largest astrology conference in the world. I taught 2 classes, one on Jaimini astrology, one on advanced Vedic astrology. Got to see all my colleagues. It was fantastic. There'll be some pictures up. I'll talk about that. I've been doing a lot of research and articles and writing on the zodiacs. I have a major article on zodiacs, and some people that I'm going to be bringing on my channel to talk about these things that I just connected with at UAC. There's a lot of stuff going on. I have a course on ancient texts that's also coming out. So I know I haven't been doing as many updates lately, but behind the scenes, I've been really working hard. So you can look for more updates here real soon. And real happy to have been able to do this. And we'll see you soon.